Thank you, and thank you to everyone with Casual Connect. It's been a tremendous 3 days, and you know, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So getting the last spot in the day when the open bar has just opened, I look at it as a good thing, because it means that all of you who are sitting here right now probably really want to be here. Otherwise you'd have a drink in your hand over in the next room. So just jumping in. So, you know, I'm going to be talking about the future of mobile gaming as just mentioned. It's going to focus in on the mobile web, but, you know, my background, I'm a lawyer by trade. I practiced for about 7 years before switching to the business side, and I've been in gaming just the past 3 years, really. And so how is a lawyer up here, and why is a lawyer going to be able to, you know, talk about the future of mobile gaming? And, you know, I think the big thing to understand is my background coming from DoubleClick, and I was an executive at Tremor Video. Both of those companies I worked very closely to work with content creators on how to build viable businesses through emerging media. So back at DoubleClick, back in '98, the internet was just taking off, and advertising was this hot new thing. You know, that needed support and tools and whatnot. And same thing with online video. Now I see gaming, when I got into gaming, as a emerging massive media, bigger than anything, you know, I dealt with at Tremor, and see a massive opportunity. And I think gaming, the amount of time people spend playing these games, I think in 10, 20 years, you're going to see people talk about radio, print, TV, and gaming. It's going to get broken out from digital as its own media. As I mentioned, you know, here's some of my background, and you know, there's various iterations that happen in media. We talked, you know, in 2005, online video was just taking off in an emerging media. A few years later, native games and games, you know, that brought on by the iPhone and Facebook games really sort of opened up gaming to a much wider audience, which has been fantastic for all of us in this room. I believe strongly, and others, including Alexander and you know, what you just heard in this room, feel like mobile web gaming is really the next frontier. I won't spend a lot of time here because we know mobile is the future, and here's just some of the latest stats from last quarter. You know, really, when the press started to get into HTML5, where it started to come into the conversation a few years ago, it was really sort of presented as almost like a battle. So there's native and there's mobile web, and who is going to win? And it was really created as, you know, treated like that in the media, like a winner-take-all type scenario. We believe that it's not a battle at all, that they could complement each other, and there's room for both. And what I'm seeing from you know, our vantage point in getting into the mobile web is that there's really a couple of paths that studios could take. And when I was thinking about that, and there's the native and the mobile web, and I know for a studio it's very hard. You have limited resources, you have choices. Native is very much what what the market's been promoting for the last several years, and now do I make this jump? And I know those decisions are very hard, and that just led me to think about a quote that I had heard several years ago that Woody Allen made when talking to the Columbia graduating class, talking about like two different paths, and I adopted it slightly to fit the crowd in here, and I'll just read it to you now. More than any other time in history, the mobile game studio faces a crossroads. One path leads to despair and utter hopelessness, the other to total extinction. Let us pray we have the wisdom to choose correctly. So I think you know, I know these are the things that are weighing on studios, and I thought Woody summed it up, some of the angst in these decisions pretty well. I'll first just talk about native, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I'm going to spend more time on the mobile web. And you know, with native, it's really this is no surprise, but you know, really seeing that becoming the new Hollywood. It's hyper competitive. Yes, there are the occasional lucky scenarios like the Flappy Birds that has been in the news a lot lately. But for the most part, it's becoming an arms race. There's so many games in the app stores, and what you need now are massive marketing budgets, and you know, it's a hits-driven business. So the cost per install is rising. I actually think this number is low at this time, and you're seeing a lot of studios struggle. They go for it, and if it's a miss, then you're seeing a lot of workers laid off and studios struggling to make it fit. So that is, you know, that is one path. If you do hit it, you're Supercell. You know, there's probably some studio walking around this conference today that's going to have a nice hit, but it's a much harder today than it ever was. I think the window for the independent and medium and small size studio has closed, you know, from what it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The mobile web, on the other hand, we see as really starting to emerge, and in a few areas, I'll get into details on all these. The games are improved. There's a lot more tools out there, and I'll highlight some of them. And distribution channels are emerging, and there are very interesting ways to monetize that are just coming into play now. So, you know, first, just the games are there. So, you know, mentioned we have 45 games. We're seeing great games every day. Independent developers are sending us games that we're like, wow, this is cool. A year ago, we were getting nothing. It was really the developers were sort of holding off until they could start to see more and more quality games. I think you are seeing that. There's the casual game itself. You don't need a massive game. You know, games in HTML5 are a lot easier and faster to create. Quality art and graphics, you're seeing that. I think a lot of the early games were more built by hobbyists. The art wasn't good, and they just did not feel like real games. You're seeing bigger and better studios get in, and there's a lot of examples out there. If you're interested afterwards, I'll point you to them, and you could check them out. And you're starting to see native-like performance. You know, these are not heavy first-person shooter games. There are limitations, but for a wide set of casual games, mobile web is there. So I talked about the tools a bit, and you know, I break this down into 3 pieces. So there's various game engines out there. You're seeing more and more. These are the ones, other than you know, Turbulence is a great 3D engine, and Goo for you know, largely for desktop, but for mobile web, my company TreSensa has an engine. There's Phaser, Pixie.js, Kiwi.js, Cocoon, Construct 2. And there's another set of companies that really work to package these games, because these games, because they're ultra portable, they can go into all the existing app stores. So there's Cordova, which is a viable product. TreSensa wraps as well. Ludai is a company that does wrapping and acceleration. Hacks and Intel has a former AppMobi product that they do as well, and they also do acceleration. Distribution, I know this question came up in the prior discussion. There are more and more companies that are, you know, you could turn to help you with distribution. We know that building the game is only part of the battle. It's how do you get one of these new mobile web type games, how do you get it in front of an audience? So right here in Amsterdam, Spill Games has taken a big role in pushing the market forward. TreSensa has a distribution platform, as does Soft Games, who just spoke. Booster Media, another Amsterdam-based company. Clay.io is another good one based in the U.S. So the support you could get for building a game is starting to emerge. There's companies out there willing to work with you and provide tools to help you get there. The distribution channels, I just want to go a little deeper here. So at the top, you see the sort of native app stores. I think we've broken this down into, you know, as we think about it, into different quadrants. So the mobile game portals, this is one that is happening very quickly. It's sort of, the spigot has turned on. I don't know if it was sort of jolted by Spill, and they're jumping into the space. But you have a lot of online game portals who are struggling. They're seeing their audience sort of you know, really starting to dip, and people are accessing these sites on their tablets, on their phones, and they're seeing that traffic go up, yet they don't have a means today to monetize. So they are now launching mobile M.dot versions of their portals, and what they need for that are mobile web games, HTML5 games. So the demand is going up, and there's opportunities to work with these companies. You work on a rev share. It's a great way to get eyeballs, and I think it's going to be one of the early areas where you'll see a lot of traffic. Another area that I think is very interesting is the media companies too. They already have big audiences. They have audiences coming to their .com site. They too want to retain those users and keep them engaged, and they've struggled on mobile, you know, for how to do that. Pushing a user from their experience into the App Store is not the best thing in most cases for these media companies. So you're seeing them start to develop either, you know, game sections or specific portals for games, because they have an audience who wants to engage with their various brands, and games are a perfect place to do it. And I think the mobile web is the ideal fit for them. Also, carriers. Playphone, I know, is here. They spoke earlier in the conference. They're helping power various game stores for a lot of the big carriers. A big market is emerging, and those various carriers will be having a sort of free-to-play, quick, you know, click-to-play type section on their portal. So it's a chance to really get in front as these new devices hit the market. Right on that homepage, having a free-to-play type section for these games, there's a lot of opportunity around that. The biggest area that we feel is pretty exciting as well, and the newest area, is on the mobile social network. So the mobile messaging apps. So we're partnered with Kik. We were one of the early game partners with Kik. They have something, I think it's now over 20 million weekly active users, and they're chatting back and forth, and these casual games, you know, that audience is very much about ice breaking and trying to flirt and all that kind of stuff. It's the perfect atmosphere and the perfect place for a mobile web game to help share with friends, and you know, this is where these games could really go social without the friction. If you throw in the need to download a game, go to the App Store and you have the game, your friend doesn't, it breaks up that ability. But if it's just sharing and doing a chat and sending a link that they click, they're opening it, they're playing, challenging back and forth, I really feel like this is the future, and the opportunity to have the Facebook-like experience that casual games, you know, had huge success, you know, 5-6 years ago. I think for mobile, it's going to be mobile web games through these emerging mobile social networks. The other thing is there's also other app stores. Amazon is really making a big push into web apps, and there's opportunities to get featured, and their Kindles, they're doing, you know, they have a big market there, and we have all our games on Amazon, and we see some of the best conversions. Our games also support in-app purchase. So Amazon has excellent conversion rates, and there's Microsoft, Windows 8. The others really HTML focused are Mozilla and Tizen. Tizen is going to be launching this year, but a very, very big big push. It's the Samsung Intel collaboration on mobile web gaming. And you could actually make money. On the mobile web, there's various things you could be doing. You have a lot more flexibility actually than you do have in the App Store. There's display, advertising. These games are a lot cheaper and easier to produce, and in that they can be supported through through in-game advertising, especially as they get, get more and more social. In-app purchase, we are now testing carrier billing, so across the mobile web, easily, very frictionless payment outside of the app stores. We really feel like that's a great solution going forward. Offer walls, we're now talking to more companies and integrating where, to get over a certain hump in the game or unlock a certain level, watching a video ad, doing other things. These are all things that have worked within the app stores to help generate lots and lots of revenue. They are now emerging in the mobile web, and interstitial advertising is another example of good producing advertising. The other area, so that's really for the studios who are looking to develop their own games, and I just want to talk about another area because the theme here is the future of mobile games. I feel like what we're seeing in New York, being based in New York, has been very interesting for us because it's very much a media center, and we're getting a lot of feedback from various brands and agencies and a whole community that I think folks in San Francisco and other locations might not be getting as directly as we are. And the interesting thing here is I think brands are going to be making a major push into games. They've struggled mightily to connect with users on mobile. Display ads aren't very good. Video ads feel very intrusive. They need to reach this audience on mobile, and they are diving into HTML5 games. And there's another element here of the ad inventory within games. There's the concept of emotional targeting, capturing a user at a point of achievement or a point of desperation where they need another life. It's really resonating with big brands, and I think you're going to see a big push into mobile web gaming. So, just tied to that, I think historically games online branded games, they were okay. But when you look at the online gaming space, traditionally it has, and still does, gaming makes up about 5% of users' time on a desktop computer. And historically, it was always more of the more hardcore gamer who was spending the bulk of that time. What you have seen over the last several years is gaming has become ubiquitous. It's now everyone's playing. My mom's playing, and all ages and demographics. So it's now much more appealing to brands. And when you look at the percentage time spent on smartphones, it's about 43% of people's time is spent playing games. When you look at tablets alone, it's 67%. So as we're talking to these brands and these big media companies on producing games, they have to be in games to connect with these users. It's just going to happen. So, we're seeing it. We've worked with a bunch of different brands. There was a game we did this spring for HBO for True Blood for the launch of their season 6. Progressive Insurance was one of the first early believers in HTML5 gaming. They're up to their 7th game on our platform, and they do nothing but HTML5 games now. McDonald's, there was a campaign out of England earlier this year. They did a great HTML5 campaign, and there's a campaign coming out that we're working on. It's not launched yet, but it's with Scooby-Doo, with Warner Brothers and WrestleMania. It's meant to promote a DVD coming out, a Scooby-Doo WrestleMania mystery DVD. So you're seeing these big brands jump in. This is more on just the inventory side and how it's monetizing. I mentioned this emotional targeting of ads, and that's at points of achievement. These are a couple of examples of how those could look, and we know through others that are doing it now in native games and in talking to these agencies, the multiplier on the CPM for these types of ads, it's resonating with brands. Finally, like, they're looking at games differently. It's a chance for them to really get associated and get a lot of goodwill out of what these games bring, the joy and the help that they could provide to gamers. So just the last thing on the branded game side is just the fact that if you're a studio looking to get into HTML5 and mobile web games, there's absolutely the opportunity to build your own games, but to supplement that in the early years as you're looking to build, I think there's going to be a massive demand for quality studios who could build branded games and work with great media partners, and it's a chance for you to get paid to educate and get a team of developers up to speed and really skilled in building a mobile web game. So it's another area for revenue and help you support your business. So the key takeaways here are mobile web and native. At least from my vantage point, I'm seeing two very different paths. One is for bigger, better, big budget, and as an alternative, I think mobile web is an absolute viable opportunity for these a whole slew of casual games. HTML5 offers distinct advantages, especially for these smaller studios. The games, an HTML5 game doesn't demand a marketing budget. So take away the X tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands you have to spend to get cost per installs. With the mobile web games today, it's simply done on rev share. So all that risk goes away, and you get your game in front of millions of people through this distribution, and it's a rev share basis. So as you have a great game that can monetize, you could do very well. And the last point, as I mentioned, is brands are going to be investing in a big way in these games. It's really resonating. We're seeing the market pick up in at least in the New York area and in California, Los Angeles. The entertainment companies are really latching on. So that's it, and I want to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions from the audience? Yep.
I was thinking a lot before asking this question. Actually, it's about the, you said that there is a technology for in-app that is independent from the original App Store and Google Play in-app mechanism. Will Apple and Google allow such thing for the apps, or will they ban all the apps that do not use the original in-app mechanisms?
So for payment, you mean? Yeah. So think of the mobile web. It's a question of will they rip out Safari and Chrome from their devices, really? Because right now you could go on your iPhone and go on Safari and buy something from Amazon. So that's really what we're talking about here. These are mobile web. It's browser-based games. It's a different story if you're wrapping the game into the native stores. In that case, what our technology does, and I think the other partners who are doing distribution do, is it will read that it's in the App Store and it will tie right into Apple payments. So the same game, as it's being played on the mobile web, will tie into carrier billing. As it's in Apple, it'll tie into Apple payments. If it's on Google Play, it'll tie into their payments. So you're able to monetize the game wherever it's being played, and you're getting the widest reach possible.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.